but he's also never really had, like, other than Calvin Johnson, like, an elite receiving core, too, so.
Yeah, well, I disagree.
That's true.
Stafford's going to finish his career in Detroit.
I wouldn't shock me, but I just don't. I mean, he's never won anything with him. At least we could say with Favre and Rodgers, they have rings with their respective franchises.
How do you compare the Packers and the Lions? Are you nuts? Let me tell you something.
I'm not comparing respective abilities.
Oh, wait a minute. Wait. Number one, okay. Now that you brought that up, I have to admit this to you too, Damon, okay?
Yeah.
The last time they won a championship was on December 29th, 1957. By the way, just so you know, that's my birthday. It's December 29th, and I will be 57 this year. And to make let's talk about some interesting numbers, ironically, that 5 years before I was hatched, they won a championship. And just so you know, these two teams play December 29th, 2019. So you want to, and then to make matters more interesting, on my birthday, okay, on my wedding day with my wife, they played on our wedding day, January 1st, 2017. So there's a little bit of some interesting numbers when it comes to dates and all that thing. So I think the Lions are going to be pretty mad when they play the Packers at Ford Field when I turn 57, especially after what happened last night at Lambeau.
Oh yeah, and I'm looking for Trey Flowers to have an immediate impact. He's going to want to destroy Aaron Rodgers after that, and I think he will. And we need that type of motivation. We need that boiling attitude in the locker room to let's just play these guys. Let's just give them our all. Lay everything on the line. And I think they'll do that. And I think they're going to step up against Minnesota, and I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think they're going to give them a run for their money.
Yeah, they've been competitive every game. I mean, let's face it. Albeit they collapsed against the Cardinals, but the win in Philly and the win against the Chargers was pretty good. They obviously have a tough loss there, and then Kansas City. They've been in every football game for sure. So this team doesn't quit. They have a lot of fight in them. So, in my opinion, the Detroit Lions are a team where, you never know what can happen. It's what Chris Berman would say in the NFC North division for all those hockey guys, right, Damon? I know that once upon a time we had the North division.
Yeah, and I've heard them say multiple times that we have the best division in football.
Well, we do.
I don't know if that's true.
Well, I think we do. Well, think about the length of the rivalries. The Lions and the Packers played for the 178th time. Tell me another division in football where these guys have played each other for that many times.
Yeah. I can't name you any.
Well, you won't.
Not off the top of my head. I mean, the only comparable rivalry that I can come up with is not even in the sport of football. It's in baseball.
No, but we're talking football. I don't care about baseball. It's another night.
Yeah.
We're talking about the NFL.
I believe Bears-Packers is a pretty historic.
Well, that's probably the longest
200 meetings, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're talking about you're talking between the Bears, the Packers, and the Lions. Those ones have the long rivalry.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The Minnesota Vikings came way later, okay? They were one of the pioneers in the league for sure. So
with Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper.
Yeah, well, Minnesota's had a pretty a good existence too. Yet they haven't won it all. But regardless, the Lions and the Packers and the Bears, are definitely three of the best rivalries in all of football. And if you need the numbers to justify it, talk about how their long-time series, and then that'll definitely do it. So Any other final thoughts that you want to add on the subject?
Yeah, and what was the thing was that the Lions were 4-0 heading into Lambeau. They beat the Packers twice in the past 2 years, and so I was hoping that they would, continue that streak, and they didn't. But I think, like you said, come December 29th, we're going to bring it, and I think it's going to be a different result.
Okay, well, you know what? I hope you're right. My 57th birthday would be nice if the Lions win over the Green Bay Packers after the gift that they got last night up in Green Bay. We call it the gift in Green Bay. And I know for all you Wisconsin people that are wondering about it, too bad. You got a gift.
You do not know that.
And my wife just walked in and said, "You do not know that. You want to go ahead? Go on, Candy."
You do not know that you got a gift. I will admit some of those calls on both sides of the ball were horrendous. but you do not know that we still would not have kicked and scored the winning field goal.
Even Barry Sanders said with some of those calls, he genuinely didn't think that Stafford had enough in him with the offense to win the game. So imagine that. Arguably the best player in the history of your freaking franchise says that.
All right, well, you know what? To be continued, December 29th.
I just like getting Scott mad, Damon. It's fun. I like getting him a
getting
little upset.
No, I'm unflappable. I don't care.
Even with the 3 trips to the red zone, that only adds up to 21 points if they do get those touchdowns. And we lost by 2. So, I mean, 1, excuse me. And so we don't know if they did convert those touchdowns that the same thing wouldn't happen again. So either way.
You're not going to get me mad. I've been dealing with this forever, so longer than any of you people.
Yeah, being a sports fan is like having, especially one of the team who's never really fulfilled your premises of winning a championship. It's like having that lovable family member you love, even though they constantly let you down.
My goodness, spoken like a real 50-year-old down in his early 20s. But you know what? We teach this kid to have opinions, and if he wants to have an opinion at my expense,
I think
I'm okay with it.
In this business, I think you're allowed to have an opinion, right? You can be objective.
You think? No, you are allowed to have them.
There you go. So
you are. That's okay. You won't get me rattled because we're already Detroit. Wait. We're already used to it, so it doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I wouldn't, even though the Miami Dolphins had a great history for a while, we had a hand in your 2 Super Bowls because Don Shula, once upon a time, was an assistant coach for the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
And on that note, Xavier McKnight's going to be coming on. But you know what, Damon, thanks for adding some interesting insights on the edge of the night after, which once upon a time there was a soap opera called The Edge of Night.
I didn't know that,
Well, now you do. So with that said, Damon, get ready to come back to work on Thursday night. Glad to have you on the program. And just so you know, Damon Knight and Louis Addeo-Weiss are 2 of my best contributors on the South Florida Tribune. If you ever get a chance, go to www.southfloridatribune.com. You can go ahead and read Damon Knight's stories. And Louis Addeo-Weiss, my co-host, spits out some good ones too. So 2 of my best writers are right on here talking Lions football. Unbelievable.
Yeah, thank you, Scoop. I appreciate it. See you, Louis. It was
Take
nice
care.
talking to you.
Take care, Damon. Have a good night.
All right, thank you, Damon. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.
All right, bye. But no, you're not rattling me up, man. I don't worry about that kind of stuff at all. But you know what? When you're talking about an organization that's been snake bit for sure, that's had it difficult, you have.
They haven't won anything in the Super Bowl era.
Well, they've never been in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
But I'm not worried about it. Doesn't matter.
I mean, I just looked at Stafford's numbers over the last 2 seasons. The team is 8-12-1. But I mean, I take back a little bit of what I said. Respectable 30-13 touchdown interception ratio. He's completed 65% of his passes, which is top 10 in the sport in that span of time. But you know what I'm saying? He's just, they've never won that big game with him, as Xavier calls. And he's going to talk a little bit with us about that as well.
All right. Well, hey, Xavier McKnight, we just went from a knight to a McKnight. How you doing, Xavier? Welcome back to the Sports Exchange.
Doing pretty good. Scott, Louis, how are you guys doing?
What's going on, Xavier? How you doing?
Now, before we get to some of your other topics, do you have an opinion about the Detroit Lions Green Bay Packers game last night? Everybody else does.
Yeah, Dean Blandino needs to be brought back quick, fast, and in a hurry to fix what's going on, because it's not just that game that I have a problem with. I saw so many bad calls around the NFL this weekend that I lost count. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous right now. Now, that doesn't excuse what Baker Mayfield did and any of that on Sunday, because he wanted to deflect the blame from how poorly he came out and played. But the things that I watched and the things that I saw on Sunday and then again on last night, it was absolutely egregious. Dean Blandino needs to be brought back quick, fast, and in a hurry. I don't know what the NFL needs to do. Write this man a big fat check. Tell him how much he is special. Tell him how much you need him, how much he means to you, and get him back in his proper seat. Because as far as I'm concerned, this is about as bad as when the replacement refs were put in place in 2012. We all remember that.
I made note of that, Xavier, at the outset of our discussion with Bill, that, I thought those refs were bad in 2012, but, this is ridiculous.
Yes. This is absolutely ridiculous.
Well, since this is our trending topic, we had to make sure you got your 2 cents worth in it. So, all right, with that said, let's go to the other topic. And why don't you give us an update on the score really quickly?
The Nationals game, 7-4 in the 7th inning. I think Washington, their bullpen hasn't been good this year, second to last in ERA and all of baseball, but they can get it done because they still haven't unleashed the two-headed monster in their pen. That is Daniel Hudson, their closer, and Sean Doolittle. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but man, they're scary right now, and I genuinely think they're gonna be a World Series team in less than an hour and a half.
All right. Well, with that said, we're going to talk about a team that was supposed to get to the World Series that Xavier McKnight did not mind telling me about, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. As we talked about, Xavier Gabe Kapler is out. The team collected 81 wins. He didn't make the postseason after signing Bryce Harper and acquiring other big names. And to add insult to injury, the Washington Nationals at the moment have a 3-0 lead in the NLCS over the St. Louis Cardinals, and obviously they could get that one win away, therefore allowing that team to have their first World Series appearance.
It would be, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, Scott, the first World Series in the city of Washington since, get this, before you and I were born, 1933, the days of Bucky Harris managing the Giants and the Washington Senators. I mean, that's only 6 years removed from the last game Walter Johnson ever played, so imagine what that would do for that city.
There you go, Xavier. This guy's going to outdo his stats all day long. What do you think? Does a man do his homework, or is it in his head, or where does he get it?
Yes, he does. And I'm going to say one more thing that's going to make everyone feel a little extra old about that stat that he just said. Does everyone realize what was going on also in 1933?
FDR just got
going
elected.
through the Great Depression economic session, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt was being elected as our president. So I hope everyone out there feels a little older right now.
I mean, hey, it'll make the cut. I mean, the Cubs still have laid claim to longer championship drought, but with the way Scott's lines are going, it's going to be, they're going to challenge them too. But yeah, it's going to be exciting, man. Regardless of who goes to the World Series of the American League, by the way, it's going to be the Astros. It's going to be a fun World Series.
Okay, well,
I agree with you on that, Louis. I agree with you on that just simply for the fact that, listen, the New York Yankees are my favorite team, but I'm a realist when it comes to these things. And the thing that worried me about the Yankees coming into this series was they had too many power hitters, and they didn't have the pitching that could match up with the Astros. And you're seeing that now. And
Stanton did not play today. He's got a quad injury. He injured his quad rounding the bases on that home run he hit off Greinke in Game 1. So, I mean, you're up without one of those bats. Judge has been taking some phenomenal at-bats all postseason, and guys like Gleyber Torres are really further emerging and cementing their status as among the young premier stars in the game. But I just think Houston has, arguably one of the best pitching staffs we've ever seen. And, I think that they're dangerous, man. It's going to be a blood-throat series if Houston and Washington go at it. But, again, that remains to be seen. We have to wait 2 more games for Houston. And then, the Nationals, again, we just have to wait like another hour.
All right, so
for the purposes of us having an entertaining World Series, I would actually like to see Houston and the Nationals as well. Listen, I'm always rooting for the Yankees to do well, but like I said, I'm a realist with these things. And, you bring up the Giancarlo Stanton injury there, Louis, but here's my thing about it. I wasn't necessarily a fan of the Yankees trading for him the way that they did anyway, because I understand that he was coming off of a National League MVP season, but that was the only full season that this man had mainly been healthy throughout his career. He's been an injury-prone player throughout most of his career, and while they were trading for Giancarlo Stanton, they should have been using most of those assets to say, we need to go out and get some starting pitching, because Garrett Cole was a name that was also out there then during that time too, and they could have honestly had that trade done, but they didn't get it done, and now they're seeking, and now they are seeing what it is that they missed out on.
So funny you say that. And I'm sure they tried to trade for Cole, and the package they offered was Clint Frazier, who, oh my God, in New York is he reviled right now, and Miguel Andujar, who finished second in Rookie of the Year voting, in 2017, or 2018, I'm sorry. But, Cole just didn't want to go there. He went to Houston, and he worked with Brent Strom, and he became this kind of Cy Young caliber pitcher. But, it's funny, the Nationals kind of had this dichotomy with Bryce Harper, where they had all of this money that they could have invested, which the Yankees essentially gave, they took on 90% of Stanton's contract when they traded for him after 17. And the Nationals, when there was all this suspicion of, are they going to sign Harper to a long-term extension? You know, what are they going to do? They took the $300